Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Star Wars Rebels episode review. This one's going to be for Season 2, Episode 11, The Protector of Concord Dawn. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good episode. Definitely Sabine's best episode in the entire series. I feel we got more character for her in this episode than almost the entire rest of the series combined. We learned a little bit more about her, which was great. Got some Hera, some Kanan, but ultimately it was a Sabine-focused episode, and there's some nice connections to the Clone Wars and even the Kanan comics and stuff like that. So, yeah. The only issue I would have with this episode is that I felt a little muddled at times with regards to mainly just the situation around Fen Rao and what exactly he was trying to do, and there was just this weird situation where they captured him at the end and trying to explain the situation of like, okay, they've captured him, but he's aware that the rebels are friendly. So he calls back to his people saying, "Don't tell them I was captured, but I'm still captured. Don't come after me. Don't tell the Empire about the rebellion, but let them pass through." It's a weird situation where they've captured him. He's their prisoner, and he's not really working for them, and he hasn't like abandoned the Empire. So it's this weird secret thing that they've done where they've established this hyperspace route through Concord Dawn Mandalore system. Uh, it's not like a huge problem with the episode. It's just like, oh, okay, what? It was just a little bit like confusing at times, but overall, small aspect of the episode. I think maybe it's because I think the episode tried to do a lot, in that we do start off the episode with Sabine and Hera going out to in starfighters with Phoenix Squadron to negotiate with the Mandalorians and see what's up. And there they find out that the Protector of Concord Dawn, Fen Rao, actually is working with the Empire already. And I think part of the confusion, I think, came from the fact that it wasn't completely clear why he was loyal to the Empire. And they just didn't really characterize Fen Rao all that well. But either way, what happens here is it breaks down. He shoots down some of the rebel pilots. Hera has a moment where she basically fends off multiple ships at once to give the others a chance to escape. Sabine has to reluctantly leave Hera behind. Hera gets hit multiple times and is badly injured, but manages to go to hyperspace. That I think they could have shot that in a different way, where like when they cut from the first like major scene of that bit, and Hera has been shot and she's kind of flying towards the camera and looks like the ship's about to explode. I thought what they were going for is that they'd captured Hera, that she didn't escape. So for me, it was a major shock when she comes through hyperspace with this flaming ship, to the point where I'm just like, really? The ship could go to hyperspace that badly damaged? Like, that's probably one of the worst damaged ships we've ever seen that is still able to go to hyperspace. They just could have done that a little bit differently, I think, to make it clear. But she makes it back, but is badly injured. They effectively say on the verge of death. And it sets up Sabine for the whole episode to want revenge against Fen Rao for multiple reasons. One, he hurt Hera. Two, because the Mandalorians are her people. Concord Dawn is her homeworld, effectively. She obviously would like the Mandalorians to be part of the rebellion, and is very proud to some extent of her heritage and what the Mandalorians are, the way they go about doing things. But obviously, it creates this kind of conflict because Kanan wants to go off on his own and wants to leave Sabine behind. She sneaks aboard with him, and it's clear that her whole mission here is that she wants revenge against him and is basically planning to kill him. And so that creates actually a nice contrast in the episode between Sabine and Kanan, because Kanan, obviously as a Jedi, would prefer not to kill people, especially for revenge like this, because obviously that's the path to the dark side. And they very much, especially towards the end of the episode, where there's that scene with Hera, Kanan, and Sabine in the hospital room, it very much came across like, as much as the Mandalorians are her people, her new people are the rebels. Like, they very much seem to hint at, that Kanan's her father figure, Hera's her mother figure, and she's learning more from them. She's learning from them not to be the stereotypical Mandalorian who has to solve everything by fighting and killing. And like, she even mentions that she seems quite proud of the fact that, like, oh, we survived over like 100 wars and stuff like that. That's not a good thing. Did you get into that many wars, Sabine? But either way, so that was nice to kind of have them kind of go back and forth over the course of the episode. Kanan wanting this to be a diplomatic mission, wanting to continue Hera's mission, which I quite like that he brought that up to her. Like, Hera wouldn't want you to go after them and kill them for her. She wants the rebellion to have the support of these people, and you going in and killing them is not going to help the case. So that was an important one. I think ultimately is one of the reasons why, when she eventually challenges him to the kind of honor fight, the one-on-one honor fight with the Mandalorian code, she has a plan in mind that she's not going to kill him. She's going to prove how skilled she is by, blasting the gun out of his hand. But ultimately, her goal was to do that and then just blow up all their ships, so there's no threat of fighters obviously going through the system. And it was a big contrast, because it initially seemed like they were setting it up as a very tense scene, like Sabine is either going to die here or kill this guy for revenge. And it was a big kind of character moment for her when she decided to, yes, defeat him, but not kill him. And it was clear that she learned to some extent from Kanan and was following his ways, the Jedi way, so to speak. And she definitely agreed with the idea that Hera was going for, that they need these people and it's better to leave them and support them, leave them alive, maybe not be on the best terms with them, rather than kill them and have them coming after them, especially with the way the Empire was involved in the whole situation. And that, I suppose, leads to the action scene that happens with Kanan, which very much impresses Sabine, which I quite like. This idea that he not wanting to fight the entire episode, basically, jumps onto, like, a master star pilot, basically, his ship, and manages to stay alive while he's heading out into space, and not just stay alive and keep his hold on the outside of a starfighter, but do enough damage to it to, one, take out the starship and keep it from going into space, and then two, actually rescue him from his crashing ship and then safely get him aboard their ship and capture him. And like, Sabine was just so impressed with the idea, like, what did she say? When you really put your mind to something, you're quite scary. It's just this idea that, like, you didn't want to fight the entire time on this mission and were actively saying to me not to fight. And then look at what you can do when you need to go into action. Like, she definitely sees the difference between a normal person and a Jedi in this case, which was quite nice. I suppose, speaking of Fen Rao a bit, I like that they set up that he was one of the people training pilots in the Clone Army, Grand Army of the Republic. I like the connection that they set up between Fen Rao and Kanan, with the idea that during the third battle of Magneto, that he was their support pilot, basically, and him as Master Depa, I like that reference again, wouldn't have survived if not for the air support that he gave them. To mention that he was involved on the Republic side of things during the Clone Wars, and obviously when the Grand Army of the Republic effectively became the Imperial Army, he just, I suppose, sided with them. It sort of explains that whole situation there. I haven't yet read Kanan issue 10, which I think came out during the week. I have to get it. I completely forgot it was out again. But that issue is apparently going to show the Battle of Megiddo. It's primarily focused on General Grievous, but I assume at some point we might see this moment that he mentions in this episode of getting fighter support from Fen Rao. Maybe they don't want to make that sort of connection, but it was nice that just it seemed like they specifically perfectly tied this in with a comic release, and that issue 10 is literally going to be the first time we see the flashback of Kanan and Deppa on Megiddo. But there's that. Sabine, obviously, with the big reveal of the episode that she, in terms of Mandalorian and like her lineages, was explaining the full details here. She forged her own armor with the help of her parents. She is from Clan Ren of House Vizsla. So like initially when I heard this, I was just like, "Well, she's related to Pre Vizsla? Is she his daughter or something like that?" And then I'm like, "No, I don't think that's how it works. Like, her family is Ren, and she I think she mentioned her mother was loyal to Vizsla, not necessarily that her father was Vizsla. It's just that their clan was considered part of the overall major house of Vizsla. She wasn't part of Clan Vizsla, which I think would suggest that she would be related to Pre Vizsla, but I don't think she actually is. It's just that she has a connection to him on, I suppose, the opposite side of things. In that, from what we saw in the Clone Wars, obviously he had the Death Watch. They obviously took over Mandalore for a period of time, and basically went against the true Mandalorian way, which is why those other true Mandalorians consider her basically somewhat of a traitor, because she has her kind of origins in a clan that is part of Death Watch, basically. So it was nice to finally get that history that, like, okay, the reason she has Mandalorian armor is because she actually is from Concord Dawn. She's properly from a Mandalorian clan, and the armor is her own. She forged it herself, and obviously has customized it herself from there. So that was a really good reveal to kind of just get that little bit of backstory and explain it. I don't know if this series is ever going to really touch on continuing stuff from the Clone Wars, like is a character like Bo-Katan, Sabine's sister, who formerly was working for Pre Vizsla, I suppose was part of the house, but now was effectively leader of the true Mandalorians by the end of the Clone Wars. So is she still alive or what? I'd like to know some more of that. I'd like to get a little bit more about Mandalorian kind of history, and like, does Sabine have any sort of a relation to that? Yeah, what am I even thinking about? I just made the connection just there. It's just Satine. Oh no, it's just a Satine Cruz. I was gonna say Satine Wren, but then I just realized that the only reason I made that connection was because Sabine and Satine sounded similar, and I was mixing them up. So I don't know. I'm confusing myself here with all these the different names. The fact that Mandalore is not actually where the Mandalorians are actually from. Their planet is Concord Dawn, which is where the warriors come from, and that Mandalore is actually a fairly peaceful planet, at least in the Clone Wars, what it's set up. So yeah, there's a lot of little things here going on with the Mandalorians that are a bit confusing. So, I'd like them to address it a little bit more. Just some of these connections, fill in some stuff from the Clone Wars period, and add a little bit more to Sabine, not Satine. So yeah, that's really about all there was to the episode. Obviously Hera was pretty badly injured. Like, is it actually going to be a plot of this season of her recovering, or is it just going to be a thing that next episode she's immediately recovered? I'm not fully sure, but obviously, of course, we have the episodes where her father's coming up at some point this season. It could even be next, so I assume she'd be relatively healed for his return. Other than that, there's not a whole lot else to really talk about in the episode. The final scene of just her and her friends, Kanan, Hera, but effectively her father-mother figure at this point in time. I do actually really want to know how Sabine came to join the Ghost crew and what the initial connection was. I actually would really like to know that story. That would be good. But I like the moment at the end where it's just like she comes back to Hera, and rather than having to say, I avenged you, I killed him, the person who hurt you, she comes back and says, I helped to finish your mission. And that's ultimately what they were going for here, that she didn't go down this dark path to get revenge for Hera, that she ultimately, in her own way, helped with Kanan's style of doing things and found a diplomatic solution without needing to kill anyone. So I liked just that little thing that she was, I suppose, on the verge of becoming like most Mandalorians and just solving everything by battle, killing everyone, but she solved it in her own way, and the influence of her new family, her new clan, I suppose, is having much bigger of an influence on her than her actual like familial roots, her connection to like Mandalorian warriors, Death Watch, and stuff like that. So it wasn't the clearest point made throughout the entire episode, but given that Sabine hasn't really had a whole lot of character development, this was actually her most effective episode. So the show's definitely worthy of some praise for that. But definitely still want more on Sabine. Definitely want more on Hera. She like just the fact that like we haven't really had a whole lot of focus on her, and then immediately she's injured. It's just like they're not doing the best job at characterizing Hera, but there's episodes to go. We know she's getting some focus here, and we know they're eventually going to get back to the main plots going forward, and that Kanan's obviously going to undergo some training, we assume, with those Jedi Sentinels and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, because there's so much stuff from that trailer that we still haven't seen. Like, literally the only thing from the trailer that we've seen already are obviously the episode with Leia. We've now seen the explanation for the Mandalorian stuff, but most of that trailer, the mid-season trailer, still has to happen. I think the next episode is going to be the one focused on Zeb and his people. So there's that, and then I assume we'll get into the Hera stuff before getting into more of the Jedi-focused stuff towards the end of the season. So yeah, Protector of Concord Dawn, good episode. Little confusing. They could have been a little bit clearer about the full situation, but overall, I'm so glad that Sabine got some character development. Just explaining where she came from, her actual origins and stuff like that was a really important thing to do for her character at this point in time. So definitely good episode because of that. So that's been the review. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode and the review. Other than that, thanks for watching, and bye.